A few years ago, I was trying to make the jump from being an amateur to professional filmmaker. It wasn't an easy road, full of mistakes, doubt, and more than a few moments when I just wanted to quit. But eventually I made it. Not yet to the top level of Hollywood director, but I can say that for the 2 years now, my only income is from DP or directing the commercials or the short projects in documentary style. And interesting thing is, there wasn't some magic trick, no secret formula that suddenly changed everything. It was simply a change of mindset. So today, even though this journey is still ongoing and I'm still learning, I want to share what I've already figured out. Because while the internet is full of videos about gear, camera settings and which lens to buy and which kidney to remove to buy a new camera body, there are very few that talk about what it really takes to make films in a way that allows me to actually live of it. Being a teacher isn't about being the best expert in something. It's about taking what I've already figured out and packing it in a way that's clear, honest and helpful, so that maybe someone else can today benefit from it. And with that mindset, I present to you my YouTube channel. Am I late to the party? Definitely. Am I far outside my comfort zone? 100%. Am I pretty good filmmaker? Maybe. Is this channel about journey to become a better storyteller through film? Absolutely yes. A few months ago I came back from film festival where my narrative short film was being shown. And the next day I went to another gala where a documentary I directed had premiere. And I thought maybe it's time to make some kind of recap career. You know, the kind of reflection where I would realize that to get where I am today, I just had to wait for that one big life-changing breakthrough moment. Except that moment never happened. It didn't need to. And honestly, I don't know if it ever will. So instead, that reflection turned into something that I think might help anyone who is like I was a few years ago, just starting out, getting into filmmaking and waiting for that mail from Netflix just because you know how to do a backlight. Film after film, I kept trying to make each one better than the last. Whatever, it was a commercial, short narrative film or just an event video, I wanted each one to look more professional than the previous one. A smoother camera movement, better camera, different lens, better lighting. I would spend hours watching gear reviews for equipment I couldn't even afford to buy, like Sony Burano. And the cycle just keeps spinning. Looking around YouTube, it still does for many people. Why that end up being a good thing, I will explain at the end of this episode. But for now, what matters is that with this mindset, I had a lot of frustration and definitely wasn't taking my projects in the right direction. Until about 2 years ago, when together with a friend we made a short documentary about Polish Olympic runner in the 800 meters, Patrycja Wyciszkiewicz-Zawadzka. We basically had 2 days to shoot the entire interview, plan everything and capture the scenes. Even before the shoot, it was obvious this film wouldn't have groundbreaking cinematography. The budget barely covered travel, camera, and I think we had a shotgun mic, but only for one single day. So the dream, all the fancy ideas and all the YouTube knowledge about how to make your film look cinematic went straight out of the window. And that was the best thing for me, because now that feels obvious, but back then was a complete revelation. Let's make the story itself the thing that pulls people in. We planned out the structure long before we started filming. Introducing the character, building the tension, shaping the arc, turning points, and thinking through every little emotional beat. We also asked ourselves how to make Patrycja feel comfortable enough to open up to people she was meeting for the first time in her life. And instead of trying to control everything, we couldn't. We spent that energy learning about her world, the world of runners, the sports, of the Olympics and memorial events. But what about life experience? I once heard a quote: "If you are only interested in movie, you have nothing to make movies about." It sounds almost cliché, but it flipped my mindset completely. 180 degrees, I could say maybe even 360, so let's make it 540. And here's why. Our little short projects, one of the shortest in the lineup, got accepted to Sport Film Festival. Could it really compete with 40 minutes international production? Probably not. But going to that festival, meeting those people, being part of community of filmmakers who are passionate about telling the stories around one specific topic, sport, and watching our film on big screen, that was another small step forward. Because just 6 months later, thanks to that knowledge and experience, I ended up working as cinematographer at the biggest athletics event in Poland. And guess what? I met a few people there who I had first seen at the same festival. This story isn't about how every film I make now is about sports, or how agencies only contact me for sport-related work. The point is that, because of a mix of coincidence and gear limitation, our project about Patricia forced us to research a real subject. And since then, every film I've made, especially documentaries, I approach from that angle. A documentary about the first private professional symphony orchestra in Poland? It was understanding the world of musicians and their perspective that defined the quality of that film. And the gala before? That was for documentary about the history of hospital, where once again the best part wasn't the visuals or the production itself, but getting to know that world and understanding it, even if just a little, was really the best thing for me as director. All of these examples of how life experience and being open to stories beyond film itself shape the kind of filmmaker I've become, of course. These examples are all film related, but what I'm really talking about is the way of living. To make films, especially today when the entire industry is shifting, you need to have something to make films about. All those weird jobs that felt like side quests, the camping trips, the books, the deep late night conversation, that's the stuff that shaped us as creators. That's what we should be focusing on. Of course, the technical knowledge, how light affects mood, how camera movement conveys emotion, all of that is insanely important and I use it every single day. At some point, my gear is also finally great. But if you feel like you are not quite where you want to be, and you are hoping that the new light or that lens or that microphone is going to be the breakthrough you need, then this channel is for you. Because maybe, just like I once did, you are a little too interested in movies to actually have something to make movies about.